Kindie Rockstars. Prepare for a treat, let's meet and greet some bands and singers that are super sweet, making music that's fun for boys and girls. Help them learn about this great big world. Fun for the family, yes it's true, your kids will love it and you will too. Clap and dance and sing aloud, become a part of the Kindie crowd. These songs will make you move your feet and give your ears a great big treat. So settle in, grab your guitars, and let's get to know our Kindie rock stars. Hello everyone, and welcome to Kindie Rockstars. This is the show that gives you the stories behind the songs from some of the best bands and singers that are making fun, informative, educational, catchy, and occasionally silly songs for children and families. I'm your host, Patrick Adams, and each episode of Kindie Rockstars will feature an artist and a featured song. So let's get to this week's show. All right, welcome everyone. Our rock star today is Megan Schoenbohm. Welcome to the show, Megan, and please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Let's see. Well, so I've been really making music my whole life. I currently live in the San Francisco Bay Area, Russian River area, and have been calling California my home for the past 12 years. But going way back, my music career, I like to say it started back when I was playing on my mother's pots and pans with wooden spoons in diapers as a toddler. But I was playing music by ear, playing piano by ear at the age of 3 years old. And I would hear, I'd hear the Disney songs at my grandmother's house, and I'd run over to the piano and start to play them. And really just my whole childhood, and even still now, wanting to play any instrument I could get my hands on. So, I started on piano, and obviously I was singing all the time. And when I went into school, grade school, we had band, and I wanted to play the drums, but was given a flute my first year. And then the second year, that's when drums hit. I went to a high school football game and saw the marching band and saw the quad player come out with the drums. And I said, that's what I want to do. So sixth grade, I became a drummer primarily. And that pretty much continued on into college. But during that time also, like I said, learning any instrument I could, picking up guitar, bass guitar, oboe, pretty much everything. And knew, from a very, very early age, that, music was my passion. And then at the age of 12, seeing the Lilith Fair on pay-per-view and deciding that's what I want to do. I want to be up on stage, and I want to be, performing for people. And so when it came to college, I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. And again, drums was my primary instrument, but my degree is in music therapy. And so during that time, for portability, obviously, carrying around a drum set is not ideal. So guitar pretty much became my primary instrument. And so did a lot of, working with various populations and writing my own music, and that segued back into the performing, and was still doing some orchestral work as a percussionist, but really, really fell in love with the songwriting and the performing. And that was more grown-up style music, sort of the singer-songwriter, inspired by Ani DeFranco, Alanis Morissette, Lisa Loeb, that whole crew. And then I loved Boston. But ever since I was a child, I also felt drawn to the California glow. I have some cousins out here, and they would come visit during the summer. And I said that, that's where I want to be someday, California. So packed up everything I owned and just, didn't have work lined up, but just decided to take the leap of faith and drove out to California, landed in Northern California, Marin. And, the music with children, it really, it actually came to me, in a sense. I landed out here and I didn't really know how to get into the music scene. It was a bit of a culture shock going from the city of Boston to more of a suburban area, with a lot of families. And I was working with a child, in a school setting, and basically someone approached me and said, I heard that your background's in music therapy, and a friend of mine has a music business teaching classes to families, and she and her family are leaving the country for a year, and she wants someone to take over her business and her classes. and so it was a bit of a no-brainer. And so I went down to Southern California and did a training to be certified in parent-child music classes. And a bit serendipitous during that time, I came out to California with my children's father, and we also, found out we were expecting our first child as I was training. So it was like really it aligned so well that I could be a mom and also working with families. And so I was teaching these classes for a couple, this was 2008, 2009. And so my daughter was born in 2010, and I was teaching, and then sort of realized that I didn't really need to teach for a specific program anymore. I wanted the flexibility, and I found that being a mom and being around moms, that they wanted flexibility too. So I kind of started my own thing. A lot of performing and just really feeling into what the family's needs were around me. And so anyway, I did that for a while, performing, but as far as recording my own music. So once our son was born in 2013, that's when I started to do a lot more songwriting, a lot more performing, started to expand my reach a bit. And then so fast forward to 2016, really started to feel the itch to start recording. I mean, it's something I had recorded, and these other albums will never see the light of day, but back in Boston, I recorded some more grown up, like indie, edgy kind of Ani DeFranco type stuff. But I really wanted to start recording the children's music because it was all inspired by my own children. And so in 2018, I hit this point where it was like, if not now, then when? And it was like I don't know, just this moment where it all just clicked. And I was fortunate that my children's dad has had a studio in our house. So he does post-production. So I basically just said, give me my little corner of your studio where I can just birth this child. And so he did. And basically I would get up every morning about 3 a.m. and I'd go up to the studio and I would record as much as I could. And then my children would get up and I'd take care of them and I teach my classes. And because, mind you, they were still really young. And I'd be there for them during the day, and then they go to bed and I go back to recording. And so I just had this, this laser focus that nothing was going to stop me from making this happen. And so that started in February of 2018. And I believe it was June of 2018 that Bubba and Boo was released, my first album. And then that summer I ended up doing a tour. I played in Florida and Oregon, of course, around California. And then, I think that is when things started to really take off as far as just, again, broadening my reach around the Bay Area and beyond. And in 2019, my second album came out. That one is You Are Enough. And that I feel like that's when I really feel like I started embracing, so Bubba and Boo, those were songs, I know I'm jumping around here, but Bubba and Boo, those songs were written over a broader span of time. I'd say from like 2010 to 2012 to 2018. So, I mean, those were songs that there's a lot of growth that happens, personal growth that happens during those years. And so 2019, I feel like that's when I really stepped into, I was writing music that, really resonated with where I was in my life. I wasn't writing so much for, let's write a song about whales, or let's write a song about this. Although there is one song on there that I was asking that, and I'll talk more about that too, asking my listeners what they want to hear about. But the whole idea of You Are Enough, and there's a couple, Good Humans is another song on that album that's all about how can we be, how can we look eye to eye and give back to the planet and give to ourselves and just be kind. And I feel like that's when I really started to, the music started to really embody, I don't know, like I don't like to use the word brand, but that's sort of who I am. And trying to find a way to bring that into music, those messages, those positive messages to this audience. When I write music, I say that I write music for the children in our lives and the children inside all of us. And my vision with that is that, I meet so many people who, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, trying to adopt that whole idea of, I am enough, and let's look eye to eye and work together and take turns. And, and so my whole, I guess my whole intent with that, with the music that I write, is that if we can take these messages, songs about celebrating diversity and smashing gender stereotypes, and if we can take these messages and convey them, lovingly and in a fun way to this younger generation, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, I think we can change the world. And also, it sets them up for greater, success in life. And when I say success, not about what they achieve, but who they become, inside and from the inside out. And also, my intent with writing it is that, in a way that when parents or caregivers or grownups can listen to the music themselves and appreciate it, not just drop their kids off at camp and just shut it off right away. It's still playing in the car and they're thinking, oh, like I'm actually enjoying this. So that was 2019 with the release of You Are Enough. And that was a pretty, that was really interesting time in my life as well. And then, it came out September 1st, 2019. And I mean, just a couple months later, we ended up in a pandemic. And that was, I mean, that it rocked everybody's world. For me, I feel like the pandemic, there were so many silver linings. I mean, obviously it was a very challenging time. But many silver linings. When I got word that shelter in place was going into effect in the Bay Area and everything was shutting down, I was on a plane coming back to the Bay Area, and I got word, and I'm just sitting there on the plane, just kind of just trying to make sense of that, because at that point I was performing, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, all over. And there are families rather, who have been coming to my performances and my classes, I mean, every week for years, with siblings, and I'm just thinking, it didn't even dawn on me, like, what am I going to do for me? It was more like, what are these, what do we do about the families, these children that rely on, this weekly tradition, and seeing how the parents, respond to it, and they have that community. What are we going to do? Because obviously, we're not going to be able to see each other for who knows how long. So I'm sitting there on the plane, and the first thing I did was I wrote the song "Okay," which is the last song on my most recent album that just came out a week ago today. It's a song called, thank you so much. That song is called "Okay," and the lyrics are, when the morning sun arises and everything is changed, and then it's like, and everything, it's going to be okay. Like, it's, anyway, the song goes on, but just, that's the first one. So I wrote that on the plane. And then my next thing was, okay, and so what are we going to do? How are we going to make this work? And I just thought, I have to go virtual. I just have to go virtual. I have to keep showing up. And I knew there was a Facebook Live option, and I knew there was YouTube, but I wasn't sure if I could go live on YouTube. But I was like, I'm just going to show up every day live online. And if people want, in my classes, there was, people would pay. I was like, I'm not going to charge. I'm just going to show up, and here's my, if people want to donate. And I always say, if people want to support the music, it was never tipping. It was, if you want to support the music, but it was never required. I just wanted it to be accessible to everyone. And so I did that 3 times a day from March until July. I would go 8:30 a.m., 9:30 a.m., and 4:30 p.m. I did that so that I could reach different time zones, because I had my Bay Area, my central, people here, but I also wanted to make it available really to everyone, because I'm originally from Ohio, and have friends on the East Coast and really everywhere. So I wanted to be accessible to everybody. And so I did that 3 times a day. And during that time, I always did it public. Oh, and yeah, public posts, so anyone could watch. And I would interact in the comment section. So I would lead it almost like I would a class. I would say, all right, let me know in the comments who's here. Let me know if you have a song request. Let me know, maybe you can put up an emoji to show me what the weather looks like outside today. And I would sing hello to every single person that showed up, whether it was a grown-up or a child. I would acknowledge, if there was any particular comments around like a song request, I would always do the song request. And then I'd say maybe 3 or 4 times during the half an hour show, I would ask questions relating to the song. So if we did a song about, like Jenny Jenkins, like a song about colors, I would say, put your favorite colored heart emoji in the comments. I'd say, let's, or the song I wrote called Peace and Love, let's flood the comment section with all the heart emojis you can. Or if we would do, one of my songs, we did Animal Boogie or Down by the Bay. I'd say let me know what are we going to see down by the bay today? Or I would say, what animal, it was always like, or like, if we're going to do Wheels on the Bus, where are we going on our bus today? And then the other thing I did, which also helped with the writing of this album, is I would say, what song do you want? And I did this for the second album too, but more so for this one. I said, what songs would you like to hear about? And Out Beyond, which I'll be introducing, that was one where, somebody said outer space. So it's like, okay. So I take that, and I would, when I was not performing, I would just sit and work on songs that people wanted to hear about. So it was very much to serve. It really wasn't about, but at the same time, I would say just having that connection, it was really beautiful. I was able to make new friends from all over the world. There were places, malls, shopping centers that wanted to do something virtual, out in Virginia, places I'd never heard of in Virginia. And so libraries all over the country would have me do these hour-long shows. And then also, people, there were like more like family, not there were restaurants around the Bay Area that caught wind of me and started, once they had outdoor music, they wanted to bring me in. So anyway, it ended up being a pretty busy time, actually. But doing a lot of songwriting during 2020 and thinking, I want to, so this is what made The Light such a profound experience. This album was because it also, right after the release of You Are Enough, we became a 2-house family. So I was off on my own, and my children with me half the time, and but I didn't have access to a studio anymore. So it was something I thought, okay, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to record music? How am I going to do post-production? Because I'd never done post-production, but I had done, the recording and a little bit of editing. And so during 2020, I also started investing in professional audio equipment that could accommodate my tiny little space. So in so the intent was always to record, but I think, we all have this, we all might share in this, is that when there's something new, something uncertain, it's like get a little nervous and apprehensive about jumping in and diving in. So it took a little bit longer to start recording this one. I mean, on top of it just being the pandemic and whatnot. So, but 2021, the beginning, January, I got this burst, and, had someone very, very close to me who was just like, let's make this happen. He was extremely supportive, and he had this 130-year-old inn up here in the Russian River. And he was like, just use the space, just go in, use the space, record. And the energy of the place is just so wonderful. I felt like, okay, this is it. So this is my little corner here. I'm gonna birth this child. So I went and started recording. With all my other albums, I record all my own instruments, all the string instruments, all the percussion, keyboards, everything. And so recording. And also during that time, things had started to open up again. So I was still, performing in person, not so much virtually. I think there came a point where we were all over it a little bit. So, so a lot of in-person performances back, around the Bay Area. Recording The Light. Didn't know what I was going to call it at first. I was playing around with different ideas. There's a song Special. There's another one I wrote called Together. but as I was walking, on a walk one day, I was imagining myself, introducing the new album. And because I was trying to think, what am I going to call this thing? Like, what is the, the culmination of all this? How do you, because at the same time, I mean, it's not just an album, of music. I mean, it is, but it also represents, I've thought of it as sort of my response to 2020, being out a single mom on my own, so there's that whole piece. I also, during that time, learned how to mix and master. So I actually mixed and mastered my own music as well. I did the whole thing from start to finish. And so I'm on this walk, and I thought to myself, well, what does this all represent? And my sweetheart at the time, who provided the inn and everything, he said to me, he would always say to me, talk about my light. And I thought, the light, what is this all about? It's about the light. It's about spreading the light and being the love and putting all this out into the world, and really trying to inspire people, remind people that we all have this light, even on the days where we're just not feeling so great. It's something that we all have, and the world needs it now more than ever. Sometimes we worry about being too much. That's something that I've had to deal with, being too much, too loving, too energetic, too passionate, and it's a light. We all have our own individual light. And so that's when I thought, okay, so this song is going to be called The Light, or the album. And then I thought, well, but I don't have a song called The Light. So I need to write one. So after the whole album was pretty much done, I went and wrote the song, recorded the song, mastered the song. So anyway, but this, and it's funny is with this third album, again, my children's father, he is an incredibly talented, with post-production. And this was the first time I had ever done it. And so I've thought to myself, is it as polished as my others? I don't know. I mean, it's not about that. It's not about that. So it is, and I don't really share that,
Yeah.
I don't really share that. It's obviously it's about the messages. But this was a very personal project, and something that I'm really proud of. It's something that I felt, with messages that the families, the people who listen to my music could benefit from. But it's also, it certainly served me too.
Yeah, no, I think your life's journey to this point, and your focus and the messages of your songs are all great. And
thank you.
So let's get into the song for this week.
Okay.
All right. The song is called "Give Myself a Hug" by Schoenbohm. So Megan,
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about this song and what inspired it.
Yes. So "Give Myself a Hug" was inspired by heartbreak, actually. And during that time, I was still, writing music for this album, and wanted to write a song with a message that, number one, said that it's okay to feel the feelings, but also not so much in what happens, but how do we respond to it? How do we respond to those days when we feel sad? How do we respond to the days when there's something that we're needing and we're not able to get it? And so, again, children in our lives, children inside all of us. This is a song for the grown-ups too. And basically, that teaches you that you can nurture yourself, and you can, like I said, give myself a hug.
Yeah, the message on this is great, and it's something that people should take the time to listen to and absorb that message, and understand that it'll be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, here is Give Myself a Hug by Megan Schoenbohm.
The flowers didn't blossom, the sun forgot to shine. The clouds are big and heavy, covering the sky. I lost my favorite thing, it didn't go my way. I miss my friends and can't go out to play. So if I'm feeling lonely and can use a little love, I'm gonna reach out wide and give myself a hug. Myself a hug. My great big heart feels sad. It happens sometimes. You don't have to be afraid or let your feelings hide. So if you're feeling lonely and could use a little love, you gotta reach out wide and give yourself a hug. Yourself a hug. So if I'm feeling lonely and could use a little love, I'm gonna reach out wide and give myself a hug. I'm gonna reach out wide and give myself a hug. I'm gonna reach out wide and give myself a hug. Myself a hug. Myself a hug.
All right, that was Give Myself a Hug. So Megan, let everybody out there know where they can download or stream that song and where they can find you on social media.
Yes, absolutely. So you can find my album, all of my music, wherever you stream or download. So pretty much any service out there. And as far as where you can find me, social media is a great way to stay connected to me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. And Instagram, it's at Megan Schoenbohm. And on Facebook, it's Music Time with Megan. And yeah, and then my website is musictimewithmegan.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Megan, for being on the show, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much.